Hello and welcome to IT Security Labs. My name is Howard and today we're going to talk about linked beacons. We're going to proceed with our Game of Active Directory lab where we are learning offensive security skills and also learning how you as a defender or someone who cares about instant response can look at attack traffic. Last time we had our Kali machine compromise the first machine in the lab, which was the SQL machine, and that SQL led us to compromising Web 2. So right now we have two beacons calling out to our C2 server, which is Adaptix C2, and those two beacons are calling on the HTTP listener. Now, what we need to do is talk about why would not want to have two beacons calling externally at the same time. Why would an attacker not think that this is the most optimal way of operating? And also, why should you as a defender care about this? There is this idea called linked or chained beacons, and attackers do this using native commands. C2 frameworks like Cobalt Strike have commands like link, where you can just literally link one machine that you compromise to another so that you can pipe traffic through your existing beacons. So the way that this will work, as you can see here, we have our C2 server outside. We'll go and talk to our SQL machine, which is our first machine, and then that machine can be connected to another internal machine. There are a few benefits for this. You want to minimize the number of egress endpoints that you're showing. So as an attacker, you don't want 5-6 machines reaching out to your C2. That will be very easy for defenders to be able to say, hey, show us every single machine in our environment that is spoken to this C2 server. Then they can find all your other machines and block them. That's one way. Another way is in the network, there might be some segmentation. Maybe the web server is an internal web server and it has no business talking externally. Maybe people can only access it internally. So what should we do? In order for us to be able to talk to it, we might not be allowed on the firewall. So we can have an SMB beacon running on that server. Then we can connect our existing machine that we compromise to it so we can chain our access to it. This might actually help with blending in. SMB traffic is very popular in Windows environments, and having a web server talk to a SQL server is not a big deal. These machines talk all the time, especially using protocols like SMB. This allows an attacker to hide in a stealth way. Also for defenders, if you do identify that we are talking to a C2 server out there, what you can do is look into, are there any other linked beacons? Because just because we see one machine talking to that external server does not necessarily mean that is the only machine that has been compromised in an environment. So either way, regardless of which side you're coming from, this is going to be very important to know how it works, what is the traffic flow, and also why people do it. Now that we know the basic concept, let's jump into our lab here. We want to undo this process where we have two machines reaching out to our C2. Instead, we want to have one machine reaching out to our C2, while at the same time, we can compromise web machine here. So right now, as you can see, I'm in my listener section. So in order for us to create a listener, what we can do is right click in the listener section. First, you go to the listener icon, right click, create, and then you can name this SMB2, choose SMB beacon, then just put the pipe name here. Here, I want it to be the code MS agent 12345. Make sure there is no space here. Choose create. It will actually create an SMB listener for you. Now, from this listener, you can right click and generate an agent. We want to generate an agent for Windows. So it's going to be beacon for Windows. And then it's an executable. We can also have shellcode. I think shellcode is a good idea, but we can also choose EXE. The reason why I'm saying a shellcode might be a good idea is because if we just do an EXE, I believe it gets caught immediately because of the loader that is being used. So generating shellcode and packing it with Scarecrow or something like that will be better here. But for the sake of demonstration, I'll just generate an executable. Then generate SMB22. I like to put this in the payloads on the desktop. Open and save. Okay, so I saved it there and everything is good. So now that we have that executable, all we need to do is get it to Web 2 And then once it gets to a Web 2, execute it and then link to it. So since we already have a beacon here, we can console to Web 2. And all right, so we can do an upload. And then let's go to here. We also have access using EvoWinRM as well, if you remember from last time. But I want to show you in our payloads, we now have, we should have SMB 2.2, yeah, right here. This one should work. So let's say PWD. I'm going to use EvoWinRM, SMB 2.2. What? .exe. All right, so now that we did that, let's just go through RDP. So I want to show you from the GUI. This is Web 2. I believe it's in what? Documents. What folder is that? Oh, it's in Evo user documents. So this way, users, Evo user, no, not local user, Evo user, documents, SMB 2.2. Let's just copy that to this person's documents so we can run it correctly. Okay, now if I double click, obviously it gets caught in the bottom here. But did it work? Now we just need to link. If it worked, we should be able to link to it. If it didn't, then we know that it didn't work. So to link, we go to SQL console, and then here, linking agents. They don't really tell us, but I believe all we need to do is just say link SMB and then the pipe name. So link SMB, the IP address of the victim, and then the pipe name. That's what we'll do. So coming back in our SQL console, the IP address of the web server is 10.3.10.32. Let's verify that. Yeah. And then the SMB pipe name is the one that we just created. So we'll go to our listener. The pipe name is MS Agent 12345. So let's do an edit. MS Agent 12345. Come back here and paste. Let's see if it works. All right, that was quick. So as you can see, it actually worked. Now what we have is our C2 server going through SQL, going through SMB to web. So this new line was added. We don't necessarily need this. So what we can do now is we can have a backup way, like maybe persistence service executable or something, so that this always launches, and then we can just run the link command in case something happens. But now we have a linked way of actually getting there. I'm surprised it worked out of the box. Sometimes Elastic and other EDR would chew up your executable. You may have to pack it with something better, but in this case, it worked. So that's how we link, and we now have a linked one. Ideally, you want to go ahead and kill this one, but for our sake here, I'm not going to do it. We're just going to show you that we have that. Let's go to our Kibana and then let's check out what does that SMB look like. Well, first, we generated a bunch of alerts here, so we're going to check them out as well. So here's Fleet. Fleet is going to show us that we are all healthy and we're collecting logs, including Sysmon, I believe. And then now we can go to alerts. We should see a lot of alerts from SQL and web. Specifically for web, we should see the SMB 22, which is a bad name, by the way, for an executable, but we light up with 9, and here's web just lighting everything up. Specifically, it was complaining about Explorer executing SMB 22. So that's to be expected. How do we hunt for that, though? Let's ask Perplexity. So just asking our AI assistant here, it'll be kind of silly for us to not do that. I want to see, can I just go in there and look? The obvious thing will be just go here and say, hey, Kibana, take me to the Discover tab. I like to see that traffic. Okay, so we can search for pipe names. In this case, there are common pipe names that will be out there. For example, most C2 frameworks will have pipe names that you can hunt for if you're doing a hunt, or you can create detection for, because Posh is a pipe name, most likely somebody running Posh C2 or something like that. So in this case, let's search for it. I think we can search by pipe name. This will probably not work as much in a big environment, but as you can see here, we do have a network event that shows us that we can hunt for this. And it creates a pipe event. So if you wanted to know and you have identified that someone is using SMB beacons and they are compromising a bunch of machines, you can actually see the pipe names. This one shows us who created the pipe name as well. If you look, our SMB22 will be caught here. This was from Sysmon, by the way. Yeah, I like this a lot because it says the pipe name was created MS Agent 22 on this machine, the user that executed it. So you can actually attribute this to an actual machine as well. So this was a fun, quick little way of explaining Red Team Tradecraft, at the same time also talking about how you as a defender or someone who is looking at instant response can utilize this information. If you enjoyed this video or if you like this, please remember to like, subscribe, and let me know what else do you want to see in this series as we explore Active Directory and attack sequences that attackers do. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.